Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerTube, and welcome back to our Poppy Playtime character concept series. So in today's video, the character we're looking into is Monster Truck. So we're going to this character's location, backstory, gameplay mechanics, and all that good stuff as well. As always, I will just state that everything I say in these videos isn't necessarily linked to the overall universe and lore of Poppy Playtime. This is just a fun what if scenario and a cool creepy story we get to tell, and we hope you enjoy. And lastly, before we start today's video, do be sure to subscribe to GamerTube as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. It also keeps you up to date with all the videos that we post. Also, do be sure to leave a like in this video because we are going to be doing our community character live stream very soon, so do be sure to stay tuned and leave a like on this video. Alrighty everyone, well let's get into the character concept of Monster Truck. So previously in our Poppy Playtime character concept series, we looked into the character of Shadow Huggy. This character was a dark shadowy version of Huggy Wuggy. He would lurk along the walls and floors trying to attack the player. The player needed to turn out all the lights in order to escape Shadow Huggy. In the end, they were able to escape Shadow Huggy's clutches and make it to a new area of the factory. But what they would find in this area wouldn't be what they expected. So, this new character is another one of the unused characters we see in the Chapter 2 Secrets video by Mob Games. They showed off a number of characters that didn't make the cut, and one of these characters is Monster Truck. Monster Truck is a bright red RC truck that Playtime Co developed. He was quite a crazy looking character, and he definitely fit the monster aesthetic. So Playtime Co was in the works to develop their own range of remote control cars, but unfortunately they never finished this production. Ever since the incident happened at the factory and all the workers disappeared, a lot of these RC cars were left unfinished, including Monster Truck. But all it would take is for someone to come along and fix him up, and then he would be ready to race. Speaking of racing, let's take a look into the area where Monster Truck resides. So this area was called the Playtime Raceway. This was a testing area for all the RC cars that they developed. Inside this area was a large track that spanned the testing facility. The RC cars would run up and down the track and test out their speed. At the end of the track was a large hatch door. This hatch door was timed to open and close within a specific time limit. Only the fastest cars would make it through the hatch, but if they aren't fast enough they would smash right into it. Needless to say, it turns out that Monster Truck wasn't fast enough. Just as he was about to clear right through the opening, the hatch closed at the last second. Monster Truck couldn't stop and plowed right into the hatch door. After that happened, he was rendered useless. But maybe if someone were to repair him, he could have another crack at the speed rally. But until that day, he would have to wait patiently. So now we return to the player. They had just entered the Playtime Raceway. They look around and see all the car-themed stations and spare parts lying around. After exploring around this area, they have come to the conclusion that the only way out of here was that large hatch door at the end of the raceway track. But there was no way they could make it in time by foot. When they pressed the button on the other end of the track, the door would open. But only a few seconds later, it would close. It has become clear to the player that they would need to ride down the track to make it through the door in time. So the player set out to go find anything they could use. There had to be a spare car lying around here somewhere. But unfortunately, the only thing they could find was this hunk of junk. Ugh, what is this ugly looking thing? It was all rusted and falling apart. It needed multiple new parts and a lot of fixing up. It wasn't ideal, but it was their only hope of getting out of here. So the first thing they needed to do was find the correct tools to fix all the rust and weathering. They find a toolbox that was locked behind a cabinet. The cabinet was secured with a strange looking lock. It was a combination lock with pictures of the characters. The player would need to figure out the combination in order to get the toolbox. They look around and see 3 distinct posters of 3 different characters. They figure out who belongs on the lock and open up the cabinet. They take the tools and repair the body of Monster Truck. Now the next thing they need to fix is the headlight. The player sets out and locates the headlight assembly station. They need to do a certain puzzle in order to construct a new headlight. The first thing they need to do is charge the bulb and make sure that it doesn't overcharge and break. Once they've figured out the puzzle, the headlight gets constructed and they move on to the next part. The next part that the player needs to find is the exhaust pipes on the back of the monster truck. They should be somewhere close by, and the player was correct. In this puzzle segment, the player needs to cast new metal exhaust pipes. They would need to control the hot molten metal and move it towards the mould. They would need to time it perfectly and line up the hot molten liquid with the mould. Once the player has poured in the metal, they would need to wait for it to cool. Once it has cooled, the player is free to grab it and add it to Monster Truck's body. His body was starting to come together. The only thing left to do was now to grab a spare tyre. The player locates a large pile of tyres. After sifting through them all, they find one that's the correct size. They add it to Monster Truck's body and finally he was ready to race. The player hops inside Monster Truck and drives over to the track. They extend their hand and press the button. As soon as the green light turns on, the player and Monster Truck race down the track. As far as the player can see, the hatch is still open at the other end. Monster Truck speeds down the racetrack and heads right towards the open hatch, but unfortunately, they just weren't fast enough. At the last second, the hatch closes and the player slams down on the brakes. Damn it, they were so close! But just like last time, once again Monster Truck wasn't fast enough. What was the player going to do? How were they ever going to make it down the track and out the hatch? As they tried to figure out what to do next, they suddenly came up with an idea. They needed much more speed, and the player knew where they could get that. The player borrows the rocket from the sign and attaches it to the Monster Truck. Hopefully this would give him the speed that they needed. The player presses the start button once again and the hatch door opens. Monster Truck starts up and rockets down the racetrack. Now they were really moving. In fact, they were moving so fast that everything became a blur. The hatch door was still open for now, but earlier than expected, the door starts to close. What's going on? It's closing much earlier than it should be. Just as it's closed, Monster Truck rockets right through the narrow opening. Finally, they did it. The player and Monster Truck have made it out of the testing area. Finally, they were free. The player drives Monster Truck down a long corridor and tries to find a way to the next area of the factory. As for what these two will encounter next is unsure, but as to what it is, we'll have to find out in the next video. Alrighty everyone, well that's what we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribing, as it helps a lot and it's greatly appreciated. As always, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of Monster Truck and what you'd like to see going forward. Alrighty everyone, well thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.